The infiltration. The sky above planet Viara 9 was dark and silent. A cold wind moved across the rocky ground. Hidden in the shadows near a human military research outpost, a young alien woman crouched low behind a jagged rock. Her name was Lyra, and she didn't belong there. Her skin shimmered faint blue in the moonlight. Her large violet eyes blinked quickly, scanning the fences and blinking red lights. Her kind, the Zalari, were known across the galaxy as peaceful observers. They studied planets and species from a distance, never interfering. But Lyra had broken that rule. She wasn't just curious. She was determined. For years, the Zalari had whispered stories about humans, that they were wild, dangerous, and unpredictable. That they built weapons strong enough to destroy entire moons. That they survived wars that should have ended them. But Lyra didn't believe all that. She thought humans were being exaggerated. No species could really be that strong. Could they? She wanted proof. So when her scout team passed near Viara 9, she secretly left her ship and went alone to investigate the human base below. And now, here she was. One mistake away from being captured. The human base sat low between two hills, surrounded by high fences and tall sensor towers. Armed guards walked slowly along the perimeter. Drones floated above, scanning the ground. Lyra took a deep breath. Her people were faster than humans, and quiet. She waited for the guard to pass, then leapt over the fence with a single silent jump. She landed softly behind a storage crate. No alarm, no sound. Her heart pounded fast. She crept through narrow walkways between buildings. Her translator buzzed softly in her ear, picking up random human speech from the radio chatter around her. Test complete. Serum locked in Lab 3. We need new clearance codes. Still too unstable. Only for emergency combat. Lyra paused. She didn't understand everything, but the words serum and unstable caught her attention. She moved toward the building marked Lab 3. The door had a digital lock. Lyra studied it, then placed her fingers on the panel. A soft light glowed, and then, with a small click, it opened. Zalari fingers could mimic weak energy signatures. It wasn't hard. Inside, the lab was cold and quiet. White lights blinked on machines. Glass containers lined the walls, filled with strange glowing liquids. At the center of the room was a table, and on it sat a small metal case. Lyra stepped closer. The label on the case had writing in human standard. Experimental combat enhancer, do not ingest. Of course, Lyra couldn't read human standard. Fluently, she picked up the small vial inside. The liquid shimmered dark red, thick and strange. It looked edible. Her stomach growled softly. She hadn't eaten since she left her ship 2 days ago. Her body needed energy, and the Zalari could absorb nutrients from many substances. She sniffed the vial. It smelled sharp and metallic, but not poisonous. Probably just another human drink, she thought. They love mixing chemicals for everything. Without much thought, Lyra opened the vial and drank it. The taste hit her like fire. Bitter, electric, and heavy. Her throat tightened. Her heart thudded once, then again. Faster. Her knees gave out. The vial slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor. Alarms in her body screamed. She couldn't breathe. Her skin flashed bright blue, then faded to pale. She collapsed. To the ground, shaking. Outside, a red light blinked on a console. A quiet alert was sent across the base. Vault breach detected. Lab 3. Unauthorized access. She woke up hours later. The room was still, silent. Her vision was blurry, but clearing fast. Too fast. She sat up. Her body felt strange, too light, too strong. Her arms were firmer. Her muscles ached, but not with pain. They were charged, like something inside her had been activated. She stood. Her balance was perfect. Her hearing was sharp. She could hear a drone flying outside. Even though it was far away, something was wrong. She looked at her hands. They were glowing faintly. Her skin had changed slightly. A small line of red veins shimmered along her arms. Suddenly, voices came through the wall, human voices. "She's in Lab 3. Move in. Non-lethal weapons only. Copy that. Target is unarmed, possibly unstable. Bioscan shows..." Wait, what? That's not a human. Lyra's heart jumped. They had found her. She looked around. No weapons. No time. She sprinted to the back of the lab and slammed her shoulder into a maintenance door. It broke open like it was made of paper. Even Lyra looked surprised. "What is happening to me?" She whispered. She ran into the canyon behind the base, moving faster than she had ever moved before. Her feet barely touched the ground. Her mind was racing, not from fear, but from something else. She felt powerful. As the human soldiers gathered in the lab behind her, Captain Reed picked up the shattered vial from the floor. His face was grim. "Combat enhancer serum. Batch 9X. Not meant for alien biology," he muttered. His second in command looked at the screen showing Lyra escaping into the wild. "Sir, what do we do now?" Reed narrowed his eyes. "We find her. Before the serum finishes changing her, because if it does, she won't just be dangerous." He looked out into the night. She'd be unstoppable. The transformation begins. The night on planet Viara 9 had never felt so cold to Lyra. She moved quickly through the canyon, her legs carrying her faster than ever before. Rocks crumbled under her feet, but she barely noticed. Her breath came in quick bursts. Her heart beat like a war drum, but she wasn't afraid. She was confused. Her body felt like it was burning from the inside, but not in pain. It felt like power was growing in her veins, building every second. She stopped near a rock wall and leaned against it, trying to calm down. The glowing lines on her arms pulsed gently, like veins filled with red light. Her skin, once smooth and blue, was changing. Now it had sharp edges, glowing faintly under the moon. "What have I done?" she whispered. Her fingers shook. She tried to focus her mind, but thoughts were running wild. A deep hunger pushed inside her, not for food, but for something else. Action, movement, power, fight. Suddenly, she heard voices above. Drones. She pressed her back against the canyon wall and looked up. 2 small human drones floated above, scanning the area with red lights. Lyra held her breath. For a moment, she thought they would pass, but then one of them stopped. It beeped once, turned toward her, and sent out a bright flash. "Target locked," it announced in a robotic voice. "No," Lyra said softly, and jumped. Her feet pushed off the wall, and in one powerful leap, she smashed straight into the drone. Metal parts exploded in the air. The second drone turned to escape, but Lyra grabbed a rock and hurled it with perfect aim. The rock slammed into the machine, and it dropped, sparking. Lyra stared at her hands. She had never done anything like that before. Back at the human base, the alert sounded again. "Drones 17 and 18. Destroyed," a voice said over the speakers. "Captain." Reed stood at the control table, watching the screen. A red dot blinked at the edge of the canyon map. "She's changing faster than expected," he said. "That serum was meant for dying soldiers, not alien biology." His second in command, a young officer named Clara, looked worried. "Sir, do we have a plan to stop her?" Reed didn't answer right away. He was thinking. "Fast. Send a recon team. Light weapons only. I want her brought in alive." "Alive?" "Sir, she just destroyed 2 drones with her bare hands." "I know," Reed said. "That's why we need to be smart. If the serum takes full control, she won't be thinking clearly, but right now she still might listen." Back in the canyon, Lyra sat near a small stream. She tried to drink, to calm herself, but her body was still shaking. Every sound around her was too loud. Every scent too sharp. She began hearing things, whispers in her mind. Flank the enemy. Strike fast. No mercy. Complete the mission. She held her head and groaned. These weren't her thoughts. They were human voices, memories, training. From the serum. The liquid she drank didn't just change her body, it was changing her mind. Suddenly, her ears picked up movement. Footsteps. She leapt into the shadows, hiding behind a boulder. Moments later, a team of 5 human soldiers entered the canyon, moving slowly, their weapons held ready. "Thermal says she's close," one of them whispered. "Careful, no sudden moves." Lyra's body tensed. Part of her wanted to run. Another part, stronger, wanted to attack. She fought the feeling. The soldiers moved closer. One of them, a tall man with soft eyes, saw something glowing behind the rocks. "She's here," he said softly. "I see her. Hands up, alien. We don't want to hurt you." Lyra stepped out slowly. Her eyes glowed. Her breathing was heavy. "I don't want to hurt you either," she said in broken English. "But something is wrong. I'm not me." The soldiers stared, surprised that she could speak. Then, a mistake. One of them, nervous, raised his weapon too fast. Lyra reacted by instinct. In a blur, she rushed forward and knocked him down with a single hit. The other soldiers aimed, but she moved too quickly. She dodged, disarmed one, and sent 2 more flying with sweeping kicks. Within seconds, the whole team was on the ground groaning. Lyra stood over them, shaking. "Why did I do that?" she said aloud. "I didn't mean to." She looked down at her glowing hands. She didn't want this. She hadn't come to hurt anyone. But now, something inside her was pushing her, harder every minute. She turned and ran deeper into the canyon, disappearing into the shadows. Back at the base, the injured soldiers were carried in. Reed stood over them, quiet. "She didn't kill them," Clara said, surprised. "She could have," Reed replied. "Which means we still have a chance. What if we don't? What if the serum takes full control?" Reed looked at the broken drone parts, the mission report, and the canyon map. He frowned. "If the serum was meant to turn a human into a last weapon," he said slowly, "then giving it to an alien may have created something even worse. Then what do we do?" Reed looked at the horizon. "We find her before she loses everything, before she forgets who she really is. Because if she becomes only the weapon." He paused. Double quotes. "Then we won't be able to stop her." Escalation and discovery. Lyra kept running. The canyons of Varel stretched on like a maze, deep and full of shadows. Her feet barely touched the ground. She leaped across rocks, climbed cliff walls with ease, and moved faster than any normal being could. But she wasn't normal anymore. Every step reminded her that something inside had changed. Her breath came slower, deeper. Her muscles didn't ache. They felt stronger with every movement. But her mind was the real battle. Whispers still echoed in her thoughts, commands, instructions, battle tactics. She saw flashes of human memories that weren't hers. Guns firing, enemies falling, voices shouting, "Stay focused. Eliminate threats. Protect the squad." She fell to her knees under a stone arch and gripped her head, shaking. "These thoughts, they're not mine." A soft light blinked on her wrist. She looked down. The serum had changed her, even at the smallest level. Her skin glowed where her veins pulsed. Her eyes reflected red light. She felt like a weapon, one that hadn't been meant for her, and it scared her. Back at the base, Captain Reed stood with Clara in the control room. A hologram of Lyra's body readings floated between them: pulse, heat signature, mutation rate. The data was shocking. Her body is adapting faster than any human subject we've tested, Clara said. "She's not just surviving the serum," Reed added. "She's evolving with it," Clara frowned. "That serum was meant to keep soldiers alive in the worst conditions, fight longer. Think faster, ignore pain. What happens when an alien brain tries to handle all of that?" Reed looked at the canyon map. It breaks, or it becomes something new. Meanwhile, Lyra crouched inside a small cave. The wind outside howled, but she stayed still, trying to control the storm inside her. Her hand trembled as she touched the rocky wall. It cracked beneath her fingers. "I can't go back," she whispered. "They'll destroy me. They think I'm dangerous." And maybe they were right. She looked at her reflection in a small pool of water. Her face had changed. Her cheeks were sharper, her eyes brighter, glowing red instead of violet. She no longer looked like a pure Zalari. She looked like something else. Suddenly she heard movement outside the cave. She spun around, ready to run. But this time, it wasn't Soldier's Dot, it was a small human scout drone. It hovered quietly near the entrance. Its red scanner light flickered, then turned blue. "Civilian mode," the machine said softly. "I am not armed." Lyra narrowed her eyes. "Why are you here?" The drone projected a small hologram. Captain Reed's face appeared. "Lyra," he said. "I know you can hear me. I don't want to hurt you." She stared at the image, her fingers twitched. "You gave me this poison," she growled. "It wasn't meant for you," Reed said. "It was locked up. You broke in." Lyra's voice cracked. "I was curious. I didn't know." "I believe you," Reed replied. "But the serum doesn't care what you meant. It's rewriting your body. And soon, it'll rewrite your mind." Lyra looked away. "It's already doing it." "Then let us help," Reed said. "We can create a cure. But we need you alive, Lyra. We need you to fight it." She didn't answer. The hologram faded. The drone hovered silently. Then it spoke again. "Warning. Energy spike detected nearby." Lyra's head snapped up. A loud boom echoed through the canyon. Far above, something entered the atmosphere, fast and burning. A ship. It wasn't human. Lyra ran outside the cave and looked up. Her enhanced vision zoomed in instantly. A dark warcraft was approaching, sharp black armor, yellow alien symbols. She recognized the design, the Kravari, a brutal warrior race known across the stars, enemies of both humans and Zalari. If they were here, it meant they had followed her, or worse, picked up the serum's power signature. She watched the ship land near the edge of the canyon. Troops in thick armor jumped out, weapons glowing. "They're here for the serum," she realized. "They think I'm the weapon." And maybe. They were right. At the base, alarms blared. "Unknown ship landing at Sector 7, a soldier called out. "Hostile forces confirmed. Kravari troops." Reed cursed under his breath. They must have picked up the energy spike from Lyra's transformation. Clara said, "Scramble defense teams." "But don't engage until I say," Reed ordered. He looked at the map. "If they capture her, they'll use her as a living weapon." "And if we capture her?" Clara asked carefully. Reed didn't answer. Lyra didn't run this time. She walked toward the Kravari soldiers without fear. Her steps were slow but steady. Her body felt light. The heat in her chest was rising again, the serum responding to her emotions. The Kravari leader, a tall brute with 4 eyes, pointed a gun at her. "You are not human," he growled. "But you hold human power. That power belongs to us now." Lyra's eyes flashed red. "No," she said quietly. "It belongs to no one." The Kravari opened fire. She moved like a storm. Bullets flew past her, but she twisted through them. Her arms glowed, and she slammed her fists into the ground. The shockwave threw soldiers into the air. She punched through metal armor, dodged plasma shots. Her body moved with the skill of 100 human warriors and the speed of a Zalari scout. The Kravari never stood a chance. Within minutes, they were all on the ground, unconscious, broken, defeated. Lyra stood in the silence, her chest rising and falling. The red glow around her body slowly faded. She looked at her hands again. She had fought to protect herself, but it hadn't felt like a choice. It felt automatic. And that scared her more than anything. Far away, Reed watched the drone footage in silence. She took down a whole Kravari unit, Clara said. Alone. Reed's jaw tightened. She's becoming the serum. Torn between two worlds, Lyra stood over the fallen Kravari soldiers. Her chest rose and fell slowly. The red glow around her body had faded, but the heat inside her remained. She looked around at the damage. Burned ground, broken weapons, crushed armor. She hadn't meant to go that far. I didn't want to hurt them. I just reacted. But that wasn't the truth anymore. She hadn't just reacted. The serum inside her pushed her to fight. It told her when to strike, how hard to hit, and how to win. She felt like she was sharing her body with something else, something cold and focused. She hated that feeling. She stepped away from the battlefield and disappeared into the cliffs, leaving the defeated Kravari behind. She needed to think. She needed to feel like herself again. But what if her old self was already gone? At the human base, Captain Reed sat quietly in the command room, watching drone footage of the fight. Lyra moved like a ghost. Powerful, fast, untouchable. The Kravari were strong, ruthless warriors, but she had taken down a full squad by herself. No armor, no weapons. Just her fists, speed, and the serum. Clara entered the room. "Sir, more Kravari ships just entered the system," she said. 3, maybe 4. "They're scanning the surface." "They're hunting her now," Reed said. "And they won't stop until they capture her or kill her." Clara hesitated. "We can't let them have her, sir," Reed nodded. "No, but we also can't control her." There was silence for a moment. "Then what's the plan?" Clara asked. Reed looked at the screen and whispered, "We have to reach the part of her that's still Zalari. The part that hasn't been taken by the serum." In the canyon, Lyra found shelter in an old communications tower, half buried and abandoned, likely left behind by humans long ago. The machines were broken, but the place gave her quiet. She sat against a wall, arms wrapped around her knees. She was exhausted, not from battle, but from the war inside her mind. She closed her eyes. Suddenly, a voice echoed inside her head. But it wasn't a command or a whisper from the serum. It was a memory, gentle, familiar. Her mother's voice. "Lyra, you are not just what you do. You are what you choose to become." She opened her eyes slowly. That memory. It cut through. The noise. The serum didn't create that. That was hers. "Maybe I'm still in here," she said softly. She stood up, breathing deeply. The storm in her body was still there. The serum never slept, but for the first time, she pushed back. She focused on her thoughts. Her real thoughts. That's when she heard a soft beep near the door. A human drone floated in slowly. Its scanner light turned blue again. A soft voice came from it. "Lyra, please don't run." It was Reed's voice. Calm, steady. She narrowed her eyes. "Why do you keep sending these machines to me?" "Because I don't think you'll trust my soldiers." She gave a small, bitter laugh. "Smart guess." Reed's voice continued. "You saved us, Lyra. You stopped the Kravari." "You didn't have to, but you did." "I didn't do it for you," she said quickly. "I know, but you still chose to protect." Lyra didn't speak. "That means you're still in control. The serum hasn't taken over, not fully. That means we have time. We can help you reverse this." She looked at the drone. "Why would humans help someone like me?" "Because we created this mess. Because if the Kravari get their hands on you, it's over. Not just for us, but for your people too. They'll use you as a weapon." Lyra lowered her head. "I already am a weapon." "No," Reed replied. "You're a person. The serum only wins if you forget that." She thought for a long time, then asked, "What do you want me to do?" "Come to us willingly. Let us run tests. Try to find a way to remove the serum before it's permanent." She looked at her glowing hand. "And if I lose control in your lab?" "What then?" There was silence. Then Reed said, "Then I'll be there. I'll stop you before you hurt anyone. But I'll also do everything I can to save you first. That's a promise." Back at the base, Clara turned to Reed after the drone signal cut off. "Do you really think she'll come in?" Reed gave a tired smile. "If there's still a part of her that remembers who she is." Yes, Lyra looked up at the canyon sky. The stars were moving. She could see Kravari ships scanning the planet. More would come. And if they found her again, she wouldn't have time to hold back. The serum would take control. It would fight without mercy. No thoughts. No choice. She didn't want that. She didn't want to become a weapon in someone else's war. So she stood. And for the first time since the accident, she didn't run away. She walked toward the human base. Toward the risk. Toward the hope. Hours later, Lyra stood outside the base walls, her hands raised. She was tired, dirty, glowing faint red. But she stood still. Soldiers on the walls pointed weapons. Nervous. But Captain Reed walked forward slowly. No helmet, no weapon. Just calm eyes. Lyra looked at him. "Don't let me become something I'm not," she said quietly. Reed nodded. "We'll try together." The final choice. Lyra walked slowly through the gates of the human base. Soldiers stood on both sides of her, guns ready. Their eyes were wide with fear. Some looked curious. Others didn't even blink. But none of them moved. She didn't blame them. She could feel the serum inside her, still hot, still alive. Her body felt calm on the outside, but she knew one wrong moment, one sudden emotion, could trigger something she couldn't stop. Captain Reed walked beside her, calm and confident. "They won't shoot unless I give the order," he said quietly. "Then make sure you never give that order," Lyra replied without smiling. They passed through metal doors and into the research wing. White walls, bright lights, strange machines lined the room. Screens showed images of her, her blood, her brain, her heartbeat. She saw herself like a test subject. Maybe that's what she was now. Clara stood waiting, her hands shaking slightly. She looked at Lyra with both caution and concern. "We'll start with a scan," she said. "We just need to understand how far the changes have gone." Lyra nodded slowly. "Do it quickly." She lay on a metal table. Lights shined above her. Machines buzzed. A scanner passed over her body, and lines of data filled the screens. Clara and Reed watched silently. 10 minutes later, the results came. And Clara's face went pale. "It's worse than we thought," she whispered. "The serum has bonded to her cells. It's in her nervous system, her brain, her DNA. It's not just inside her, it is her now." Reed stared at the screen. "Can we remove it?" Clara shook her head. "If we try to extract it, we'll destroy her." Lyra sat up slowly. Then, "You lied," she said, her voice quiet. Reed looked at her. "We didn't know. You said you'd save me, and I still want to." Lyra stood from the table. Her hands clenched at her sides. "But now I know," she said. "I can't go back to who I was. That version of me is gone." There was silence in the room. Then Clara said softly, "There might be another way." They both turned to her. "We can't remove the serum," Clara explained, "but we might be able to help you take control over it, like teaching your brain to override its commands. Like training a wild animal inside me?" Lyra asked. "Yes. And if you succeed, you'll become something we never imagined. Not a weapon, something more." Lyra took a deep breath. "Then let's try." The next few days were painful. They placed Lyra in a sealed room. Cameras watched her. Machines monitored her heart, her brain, her thoughts. Clara gave her mental tests. Reed gave her physical challenges. She had to lift weights, dodge obstacles, and hold back the power that tried to burst from her body. She failed many times. The serum wanted to fight, to explode, to protect, but Lyra fought harder. She meditated, breathed slowly, and focused on memories, her home planet, her mother's voice, the stars above her village. Every time the serum tried, to take over, she reminded herself. I am Lyra, not a weapon. Not theirs, she screamed. She cried. She broke machines, but she never gave up. One night, Reed entered the training room alone. He placed a small box in front of her. She looked at it with a raised eyebrow. What's this? She asked. Your last test, he said. Inside is a device that releases pain, very strong pain. She stared at him. Why? Because when the serum senses pain, it takes over. It protects. It attacks. But if you can stay in control, even while in pain, you win. Lyra nodded slowly. Let's do it. She opened the box. The moment she touched it, a sharp electric shock ran through her body. Her knees hit the floor. Her muscles twisted. Her vision went red. The serum inside her screamed for release. Her fists began to glow. Her bones cracked, but she didn't move, she breathed. Not this time. She focused on her mother's voice again, on her real name. On her choice. Slowly the red glow faded. The pain stopped, and she stood. Shaking, but in full control. Reed smiled. You did it. But outside the base, danger had returned. 5 Kravari. Ships landed in the nearby valley. Hundreds of soldiers marched across the rocks, ready for war. They had tracked the serum again. And this time, they came for one reason only, to capture Lyra. Inside the base, alarms screamed. Reed ran to the command center. Prepare defenses, he shouted. Get all civilians to safety. Clara turned to him, worried. We don't have enough firepower to stop them. Reed looked at the screen. Red dots filled the map. Then we'll have to use our final option. Lyra stepped into the war room. She already knew. They're here, aren't they? Reed nodded. They won't stop until they take you. Lyra looked at her hands, calm, steady. Then I'll stop them first. Reed looked worried. You could lose control again. She met his eyes. No, I've trained for this. I choose to protect, not destroy. Reed handed her a small device. If things go bad, press this. It will trigger a shield that locks you inside. It will stop you from hurting others. She took the device and nodded. Let's hope I won't need it. As the Kravari approached, Lyra walked out of the base, alone. She stood at the edge of the canyon, facing the army. Hundreds of eyes stared at her. The Kravari leader stepped forward. Come with us, weapon, he growled, or be crushed. Lyra looked at him. I'm not a weapon, she said. I'm a warrior by choice. Then she attacked. She moved faster than before, not wild, but focused. Her power was sharp and controlled. She blocked attacks, knocked down soldiers, dodged blades and bullets. She didn't destroy, she defended. The humans watched from a distance. Amazed, she wasn't fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for them. The warrior and the peace. The battlefield burned under a sky full of smoke. Lyra stood alone at the front line, surrounded by fallen Kravari soldiers. Her eyes were focused, her breathing steady. Red light shimmered faintly around her body, not wild like before, but calm and under control. The serum inside her was silent now, because she had taken control. More Kravari rushed forward, shouting war cries. They attacked from all sides with sharp weapons and heavy armor. But Lyra was faster, smarter. She moved like water, dodging blades, blocking attacks, and using just enough force to push them back without killing. Behind her, the human base stood. Strong. Captain Reed watched from the wall with binoculars, his jaw tight. She's doing it, Clara said softly beside him. She's controlling the serum, Reed nodded. She's not just surviving, she's choosing who she wants to be. Down on the battlefield, the Kravari leader growled in frustration. His name was General Kurtal, a cruel and powerful warrior, known across the stars. He had waited for this moment to capture Lyra, use her power, and turn her into the ultimate weapon for the Kravari Empire. Now his soldiers were falling, one after another. He stepped forward himself, his massive boots shaking the ground. "You can't win, Lyra," he shouted. "You were made to destroy, not protect." Lyra turned toward him. Her eyes glowed, but not from rage, from purpose. "You're wrong," she said. "I wasn't made. I chose." Curdle raised his energy blade and charged. There. Clash was like thunder. He was strong, but Lyra was stronger, not just in body, but in will. She fought with heart, not hate. She used her training, her focus, and her spirit. She blocked his blade, twisted, and knocked him to the ground. But she didn't kill him. She placed her foot on his chest and said, "This war ends now. Go back. Tell your empire I'm not theirs to use." Curdle hissed, "They will come again." "Then I'll be ready," she said, and stepped away. He looked at her one last time, then gave the signal to retreat. The Kravari ships lifted off slowly, leaving smoke and dust behind. The battle was over. Later that evening, Lyra sat alone on a rocky cliff near the base. The wind was cold, but her body was warm from within. She looked up at the stars, so many stars, and smiled for the first time in a long time. Reed joined her quietly, carrying 2 metal cups. "Hot tea," he said. "Well, as close as we can get on this planet." She took the cup, sipped it, and nodded. "It's better than Kravari food." They both chuckled. For a moment, there was peace. "You saved everyone," Reed said. "Not just us. You saved yourself." "I wasn't sure I could," she replied. "The serum almost won, many times. But it didn't." She looked at him. "I still feel it, every second, like fire in my blood." "So what will you do now?" She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I'm going to leave this planet. Not to run, but to learn. To control this power even better. Maybe help others like me. If there are any," Reed smiled. "You'd make a good teacher." "Maybe," she said, looking back at the stars. "But I'll come back. I'm not done with Earth. Not yet." Clara joined them then, holding a small device. "We recorded your fight," she said. "The scans, the data, everything. We've learned so much. But only if you allow us to use it." Lyra thought for a moment. "Use it to protect, not to build more weapons." Clara nodded. "I promise." The next morning, Lyra prepared her small ship. It was old but fast, and the humans had repaired it for her. Reed walked her to the launch pad. "You know," he said, "if you ever need a place to call home." She smiled. "I think I found one." They shook hands. Then Lyra climbed aboard. As the ship lifted into the sky, Reed and Clara watched it disappear into the stars. Weeks later, on a distant planet, deep in a jungle, a group of frightened villagers hid from a deadly alien beast. The monster had destroyed half their homes. No one could stop it until a flash of red light appeared. Lyra stepped forward from the shadows. She raised her hand, glowing with power, but also with control. "You don't have to fear me," she said to the villagers. "I'm here to help." The end.